All night I toss and turn. The voice inside won't stop. To acknowledge is to learn. They're here. Make a drop. Who am I? Who are you? Where am I? Where are you? They all hate you. They don't want to hear you speak. They must drain you. But they will never be pleased. Who am I? Who are you? Where am I?
What's up, everybody? We are back with the Trainman report. We are here at an unscheduled time because Alex decided to shift everything around at the last minute despite everything being super prepared. I don't even think Alex is in the country right now, if I'm being real with you.
I am not.
He just ran away. Ditched us all last week.
That's right.
He's like, I have bad internet connection. Sorry, I'm going to go party and live my life, taking pictures of posters and other such things. And now we are back this week. We're here a little early because Alex, unfortunately, I believe you're not feeling very well is what I heard.
I am not, but I'll survive. Thank you very much.
He's going to make it through and tough it out because the show must go on.
It must go on.
are joined by someone very cool, in my opinion, who I've known for a very long time. Melanie over here. I'm not used to calling her Melanie, to be honest, because we got into music names a long time ago, and it just kind of flips up how you refer to people. But she's a wonderful person who also happens to own a bookstore up in NDG, making her, I think, one of our first real local business entrepreneurial types up on the show, able to discuss what it's like to operate in NDG and tell us a little bit about how Phoenix Books and whatnot came to be. So it's really great to have you here. So why don't we start where you could just kind of introduce yourself to the audience and just kind of tell us a little bit who you are and where you grew up and all that, like a little bit of an origin story to you.
Yeah, we love
Okay.
origin stories.
Hi, I'm Melanie. I'm the owner of Phoenix Books in NDG, and I grew up in NDG.
Awesome.
Which part of NDG did you grow up in?
I grew up in west of NDG, so like at the Montreal West border.
Yeah, I live near there as well. I'm on King Edward, not that far from Concordia,
Yeah,
Loyola campus.
I
Right.
was on Connaught,
Oh, that's a nice
not
street.
too
Yeah.
far. Yeah,
Yeah. That's a great area.
yeah.
And you continue to live in NEG?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. So born in NEG and you live here and you run a business in NEG. Wow, that's a cool story.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm pure NDG.
Wow. So tell me this. Did you ever leave NEG or you've been here all this time?
I left a couple times, not
Oh,
for very long though.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
And you're like you owning a bookstore, that's pretty intellectual exercise, right? What, is there something about your educational history, that made you gravitate that kind of business?
It's it's weird because I studied literature a long time ago,
Hmm.
and I never thought that I would do anything related to that. Like I was kind of like, oh, I'm just doing this for the hell of it because I like to read.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, and then a friend of mine called me a few years ago, and she wanted to buy the store because it was owned by a woman named Anne for a very long time, and this was back when it was called Nearly New Books.
Right, right.
And yeah, I worked with her for 5 years, and I just fell in love with running the store and just getting to know people in the community. And then she asked me if I wanted to take over 2 years ago, and hard decision, but I decided to go with it.
So how long have you been running Phoenix Books on Sherbrooke then?
2 years.
Wow, by yourself then.
Yeah.
But this has been a long ongoing business now on Sherbrooke. You guys are Phoenix, and prior to that was nearly new. What was it again? Nearly
Nearly New
new
Books.
books. That's right. So how long have you the Phoenix kind of operation been running for? Like
Um, so Phoenix started when we moved across the street,
right?
and that was in June of 2020.
Okay. So you survived the pandemic. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Was that difficult for you to do?
It was interesting. We did close for a bit,
Hmm.
and then when they wanted to close it again, like for another lockdown, we decided why not try to make it a bit essential. So we blocked off most of the store with a table, and people
Hmm.
were able to come and ask for a book. And we
Hmm.
had snacks at the front. So it was like a place you could get a bag of chips. And that's how we got through that.
So hold on. By adding
Yeah.
snacks to your like repertoire of things you sell, you technically became an essential service because you could provide food to people.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the angle. Well, that's
Yeah.
great. Well
Yeah.
done. Good for you. Well, books, literature, to me, that's kind of an essential service, right? To read, to
Yeah.
know, to educate yourself. That's great. So, so here we are. Melanie and NDGer grows up in Melanie and NDG, and you did do some studies in literature. You've already announced that you're a bit of a bookworm. Is that a correct kind of? Can we pigeonhole you that way? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
definitely.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you own Phoenix Bookstores on Sherbrooke, and you're right beside Honey Martin. So if you want to like do a pit stop on the way to the local pub, I guess that would be your establishment, or vice versa. But I think you should go to your store first before going to Honey Martin, right? Not the
Yeah.
other way around.
I don't know. Or you could have a couple drinks, have some
Right.
lack of judgment, spend tons of money at
Right.
Phoenix.
That works
Yeah.
too. Yeah, I guess. Well played. Now,
It's like you
so
walk in a little tipsy, like, what do you got in the rare collection? I'm trying to flex.
Yeah.
that's great. So, but tell us more about yourself. Like, I hate to prod, but I ask for origin stories, and we really don't know who Melanie is, right? So why don't you, and obviously I think that's an important, part of the community and people who engage in business. So tell us more about yourself. Holden says you're also involved in musical projects.
Yes. So I have like a synth pop project, and that's
Mm-hmm.
called Melzy. And you can
Okay.
find me on Spotify, on all the streaming services. And I released an album in October, and it's like an environmental concept album, environmental fantasy, and it's called Hypoxylon.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you did this in
Like,
conjunction of running a bookstore.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Wow.
I also did my album launch at the bookstore, which was
Wow.
really fun. Yeah.
Well, Holden, you're a musician, right? So, you know more about this than I do. Do you not?
I mean, I know a lot more about this. I've listened to the project when it dropped and whatnot. I mean, Melzy and I made music together.
Oh, you
Like we've
did.
just done stuff. Yeah. So like for me, it's like I've been watching her do her thing for a really long time. Like, I think she's really talented. She produces her own stuff. Like, I feel like she's selling herself short here. Like, she produces all her own music. She does all the mixing. She does all the mastering. I think she worked with people for the cover art. But she also, if I'm not mistaken, released a lyric book alongside her album. So she works in a bookstore and released a book to go alongside the music project, which I thought was just fire because, like, it's
That
pretty
is
incredible.
interesting.
The album's an actual concept album that tells a story, which is super rare these days because everyone complains about how nobody makes albums in a single area. But we got somebody at NDG who just made a whole concept album that's tied into local environmental issues and things to that effect. It might be not for everyone's taste, but it's really distinct sounding. It doesn't really like come off like she's biting anyone's sound, and it's really cool to see somebody like really craft their own musical identity in the middle of this world of copycat musicians, etc. So she's really good with it. You should check that out. But
Yeah, and
yeah,
that sounds really creative. And how does the book play into the album? Like, could you explain that to us, Melanie?
So it's a lyric book,
Mm-hmm.
and I hand wrote all the lyrics myself just to give it a personal touch.
Right.
And I got my partner, Jonathan Borello. He's a webcomic artist. He
Mm-hmm.
did all the illustrations in it, like to go with the lyrics. And he also did the album cover.
So let me get this right. You launched an album, right? And when you say environmental, you mean it's like kind of like the music is kind of like mood music, or is it like environmental, talking about to environmental issues? I'm just trying to get a gauge on that.
So the lyrics tell a story. So like
Right,
every song is connected to each other. Um, and it tells a story of a deer woman that's
right.
she's kind of trying to find her place in the world during a time of climate change and where things are dying. And yeah, it's just her story of finding her place and figuring out how to make things better.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. So, and to just to cap this, you created an album, right? That discusses and explores environmental issues through a character that you created. And in conjunction with that, you published a comic kind of lyric book that goes along with the album. Wow, that
Yes.
is trippy.
See what I mean? It's not
That
like
is
an
trippy.
incredible feat.
That is
Like,
really trippy. Well done. Wow,
Thank
that's
you.
great. Wow. Yeah, I have to be honest and stay. I have not listened to it or read it, but now
I
I
sent it
will.
to him 2 hours
Yeah.
ago. He had
Right,
ample time to listen.
Ample time. Had ample time. Yeah. Yeah. I have been lately. I guess let's go to a little segue here. I lately I've been delving into more Montreal literature, and the reason why I started that exercise is because a lot of books have been written by Montrealers on a variety of different subjects, and I haven't read them. That's the honest truth. And I just coincidentally, how sometimes life's path takes you in strange and kind of like coincidental ways. Um, my friend who plays, I play poker with him, believe it or not. We have like these, home-based poker games that are just, ridiculous fun games. We know, we're talking small change in terms of what's bet. And he helped a gentleman write a book about his life in Montreal. And I was reading that. And then Tula, I don't know if you know about Tula. I always pronounce her name wrong. Please help me. Dimitrios. She's a columnist now for the Gazette. She wrote a book called The Others, and now she's coming out another book that's launching, I believe, March 25th, discussing, the whole a question of people seeking asylum, right? Asylum seekers, right? So I've been reading that, and I'm like, wow, how does your bookstore connect in that way? Are you also very connected to sort of the local literature scene? Is that something you do?
Yes. So I'm mostly a used bookstore, but I have a small local section,
Right,
and I'm particularly very connected with the poetry community.
right,
So I have a lot of local poets in the store, and we do a lot of events together too. Like we do Speak Up every month at the end of the month. So that's where there's poets that read their work and we discuss it, and then they read it again and you get a new perspective. And I also have an open mic every 2 months where people can read their poetry and their fiction. So
wow.
yeah.
And how would people become aware and follow that scene at Phoenix Books? Do you have a Facebook page, a website? How does that work?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok.
Oh,
And
you are.
the username for all of them is Phoenix Books NDG.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't ask this question yet, but why the name Phoenix? I know Phoenix to me, Phoenix from rising from the ashes, right? That's to me, that's the image that, I get when I hear the name Phoenix. So why Phoenix?
Well, when the previous owner had the store, she didn't really like the old name. I didn't either.
Right.
And when we moved, we wanted a new name, and she had a dream about a phoenix. So
Really?
That's
that's how
amazing.
that came about. But
That's
I
So,
cool.
also
like,
I really love it too because I find with used books, they're going to a new home when they're in the store. So it's like they're
Right.
rising from the ashes again too.
Right. So
so
that's the imagery that the phoenix means to you is the rising from the ashes. Okay. Sorry, hold on.
Yeah.
I
Please.
was gonna say, like, so you have a used bookstore. How does one like operate a used bookstore? Like
Good
as a
question.
consumer, we just go to the bookstore
Buy.
and the books are already there. But like you got a lot of books in your bookstore. So how does like one actually maintain an inventory of books? Like is there like an outlet or like a book vendor section of the city where all the book people kind of link up and do book trading? Like how does it actually work?
I do all kinds of stuff. People come in with books and I take donations. I buy books too. I do store credit. And I also have places I like to go to find books for cheap. And whenever I travel, I look for places with books for cheap and I find things that are good for the store.
So it's really just
Yeah.
like scavenging in
Yeah.
a sense.
Yeah.
So I collect vinyl. I buy vinyl, and
Oh,
I go
nice.
to Death of. I don't know if you know of them. They're on Saint Laurent. They're called Death of Vinyl. Um, and that's what he does, right? He has sort of a network of existing customers that are buying records for him, but they bring in, music as well, right? So there's kind of like this
Yeah.
recycling action happening, right? And it's really cool, like from the book and record perspective, because it's not like something that's digital, right? It's something that's physical. It can be like exchanged and traded. And
Yes.
I'm older, right? If you hadn't noticed, older than Holden, that's for sure. There he is. And I come from an age where that's what people did, right? We traded stuff, right? Traded a variety of different things, be it art, records, music. Um, I remember trading cards, baseball cards, comics. Like your partner, is he a collector of comics? Is that something he does as well?
He's not big on comics necessarily. It's more he likes really unusual graphic novels.
I
Like
see.
not the superhero stuff, but more of like the just the strange and bizarre. Yeah.
The creative stuff, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I think
yeah,
it's a good point though, because I think a lot of people relegate the comic world to just the superhero genre because it's honestly the more predominant thing. But there's like all kinds of comics out there, and even graphic novels. They honestly usually start as comics that just get kind of strung together into a book after the fact. It's just
Yeah.
that they're not like popular. Like I know there's one that's just like a bunch of like fairy tale characters, and it's like completely not at all. Like an ex-girlfriend of mine was super into the series, and it was just like all comic, but it was nothing like story wise what you want to. There's like a lot of like, like dark stories or like just more horror based things, just stuff that's completely, it's just an art style and a way of it's a way of writing books. Comic, it's not just the conventional Marvel versus DC world.
Yeah.
yeah. So when you did your book for your album, right, the lyric book, as you call it, and your partner created this graphic book, if you want to call it that. um, do you find that animation? Because I've heard this conversation come up before with my conversations about people about animation, be comic animation. The benefit of animation comic is that you can exercise a lot more creative license because you can just draw what you want, right? It's like you're not constrained by the physical realities of the world, right?
Yeah.
Is that something you saw in your book related to the lyrics on your album?
What was really cool was I told him just listen to the songs, look at the lyrics, and draw whatever comes to mind for you. Like
Right.
create your own world with it. And I don't know, I just found it I was so touched when I saw it and I just thought it was so beautiful and I don't know, I just loved seeing a different perspective of it.
That's
So
Right.
awesome.
yeah.
So
So
also,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, so one of the things that I think is really cool about Phoenix Books is that it's not just like a bookstore at this point. It really is a venue and a community hub that you've been building and like kind of fostering within NDG. So I was just kind of curious how you kind of flipped from being just like a store to a venue. Is that something you did at the last location, or was it just kind of a way to grow, from your opinion?
So the last location was really small. Uh, it wouldn't have been able to have any events. And when we moved, it was in the height of the pandemic. So, yeah, we just never really talked about those things. But then
Right.
when I was asked if I wanted to take over, the thing that convinced me was thinking the things I wanted to do for the community. So, you know, thing we were able to gather again once I took over and I came up with some ideas. Try to think what the first event I did was. I feel like it was a book launch, probably, or
So,
a
so if there's
poetry
people listening,
event.
if there's people listening to the show, and they want to have their local NDGers, I guess we could expand it, maybe to a little bit the Snowden, the Cotonou people, if they wanted to
Anybody
do.
in the world that want to pull up in NDG is who we're targeting. Let's
Yeah,
not
okay,
limit
fair
the
enough.
potential prospective clients here.
Holden is always the more
Yeah.
open-hearted one. I'm kind of a snob.
Like honestly, I
I
think
love NDG.
NDG is really becoming a literary neighborhood. Like we have Encore, we have Saga Books, we got me, and I think those are three really great stores to do a book tour with if you visit the neighborhood.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
bookstores if you think about it. And I do shop at
Yeah.
Encore. Yeah, they also sell vinyl, so I go there.
Yeah, I
Um,
go there too for vinyl.
oh, you do? Okay,
Yeah,
there.
and
So
books for me.
it's funny that you say that because I participate in the NDG Art Hop. That's the whole like Trainman shtick. And I don't know if you're familiar with Helen Mayer, but she says very much the same thing. She says, in NDG we have one of the highest artistic per capita ratios in the city, and there's no like scientific data that proves that point, but I hear that theme repeatedly about from people who are in the artistic community. I know there's quite a few writers in the neighborhood. I am Facebook friends with them. There's Adam. If I can't remember his last name I call him Super Dad. And he's published quite a number of books as well.
Oh, I know
So,
who he is. Yeah,
oh, you do?
he
Adam
comes to my
Kelly.
store.
I
Yeah,
think it's Adam Kelly.
yeah,
Is that it?
Adam Kelly Morton. Yeah.
Alan Kenny Moore. There we go. Guy, please forgive me. So yeah, so you feel that way as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And is that from owning a bookstore, or is that from your cumulative experience as an NDGer since you were you arrived on this planet and born, raised, and lived in NDG?
I feel like I do feel like it's always been artistic, but since I've owned the store, I'm really seeing like what Sherbrooke is like and what people in the neighborhood are like, and they're coming together to show their art. And I'm really seeing it more than ever now that it's a very artistic neighborhood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of creative, things happening. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot of fun. I
Yeah.
like it.
I really
I
want to see your Trainman thing too. Like,
oh, you have to come
yeah,
over.
because every time you post about it, me and my partner were like, "Oh, we need to go. We need to see the
Oh yeah,
trains," but then it never
it's a riot.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, how you are as an artist. Well, I don't, I'm sometimes I'm conflicted, right? How artistic I am compared to other artists in the neighborhood.
Man, I don't think a lot of us can make to scale miniatures of local NDG things. That just like I don't think a lot of us is doing that. That's pretty artistic, Alex.
Thank you.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
it's still it has a hobby aspect to it as well, right? So, but I have, from my perspective, when I see people like Holden and yourself who are producing albums and your partners creating like this lyric book, I'm like, oh, I feel insignificant. I'm like, oh my
You know
God.
what's just arguably
It's like,
wild is you could monetize your hobby 5 times faster than we're gonna monetize music.
I'm
Because
not
people will pay for
It's true.
miniatures so fast because you're
It's
doing
true.
something
It's true.
that's a lot rarer to be fair. It's just like again, but it's also like if you think about it as a function of art, the little NDG model you have in your basement, think about the joy it's brought to people, the way you're able to communicate and capture the essence of a neighborhood. You're effectively doing literally everything an artist does. It's just another medium.
Thank you. But back on Melanie.
Actually, I had a couple of questions from Bonnie in the chat.
Who's so much better looking than I am. Go ahead.
Do you guys have a book club that meets at Phoenix?
That's a
As I
great
know
idea.
Bonnie,
Great question.
Bonnie's a
question.
voracious reader. She does a lot of her shopping online, I'll be honest. But she would probably pull up at a book club. Is that like something you guys do?
I don't currently have one, but it's something I've been thinking about before, so I'll definitely keep it in mind.
So this is someone who made a comment about a book club?
Yeah, Bonnie.
Bonnie. Okay, so Bonnie, let's start a book club at Phoenix.
Yeah,
Let's
Bonnie,
do
start
it.
a book club at Phoenix.
No?
Bonnie, she would like a book club. I know that because I know she wants a book club. And then if somebody were to run a book club for you at your place, would you be open to that?
I would be open to it.
So there.
That's the way the world really
And-
works.
Yeah. So
Um,
it's right now we're in the winter, of course, and the question I have is in the summer I go by your store and sometimes I see things outside, right? You kind of like come and occupy the public space, which is great. I just love that, right? You know, is there like, do you put out tables for people to have? Sorry, there's quite a large truck passing me by right now.
we don't even hear it.
I don't hear it.
Oh, okay,
I
good.
don't know.
And the question I have for you is there plans like do you said you served food over the pandemic? Are you expanding on that kind of like exercise?
No, I do local artist pop-ups though.
Right.
So they could like set up their tables and sell their things. I also have tables in the store. The people do stuff around the holidays usually.
Right.
And I also often put out dollar books in the summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Right. That's what Encore does.
Yeah.
They put up the records that are either in poor condition or, you know, they're kind of titles that are kind of like not sought after. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. My friend calls it the fly trap.
Oh,
'Cause,
right.
yeah, it just attracts people, then they come in eventually. So
Absolutely. Well, that's how it
Yeah.
started with me, Encore. I started buying the really cheap records. Then I went inside and I said, "Oh, I remember that from my youth. I'd like to have that." And before I knew, I was always inside.
You'll sometimes
I
get
just-
some real good finds in those dollar book fly traps, and then you can't help it if you find one. You just gotta walk in the store, and then once you're in the store, that's when they get you because there's too many books. And if you're a
Yeah.
bookstore fan, it's over. You'll spend an hour in there, no problem. And then since you've been there so long, you gotta get something.
yeah.
So that's great. So Phoenix Bookstore. Let's talk about more of the mechanics of owning and operating a store
Yeah.
in Sherbrooke. Like I think that we don't have enough conversations. Like you're an entrepreneur. Let's put it, you know, that's you're kind of an entrepreneur. You're not kind of, you are, excuse me. You own a store, you operate a store. You have to pay bills, right? You have
Yes.
to, you know, you have to, you're obviously you seek to make a living from this exercise, right? Let's talk about that a bit because I think that, you know, you could be a role model to other people who are interested in perhaps, you know, exploring that. Explain a little bit. How difficult is it? Like, do you feel a lot of like, are you able to sustain yourself? You feel in a rather reasonable way, or do you experience quite a few challenges in that endeavor? Because you have to pay rent, of course. You got city taxes you need to pay, and you've got a whole bunch of stuff that you need to pay, right?
Yeah, hydro, internet, yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. To pay
Insurance.
hydro and yeah.
Yeah.
So please speak. Tell us about
So
that.
it's definitely not easy.
Okay.
It's especially hard this time of year. February, March are very quiet.
Right.
I'm actually looking for a side hustle right now
Right.
because it's a little tight. Yeah, and I'm definitely not rich doing this, but I love doing it, and it's a lot of work. Um, yeah, like constantly, I'm always thinking of things I need to do for the store. Even when I'm closed on my days off, I'm doing store things. It's a never-ending job, never-ending to-do list.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to be passionate about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah,
you
like
find?
people always say like, oh, if I owned a bookshop, I'd be reading all day. But the reality is I have less time for reading now that I'm doing
Right.
this. Yeah.
Because you're involved in the everyday administrative tasks of running a store, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But also
Yeah.
the promotion elements and stuff, right? Because like Melanie does some interesting stuff on social media. like and then you have a newsletter and all that. So like, how much time do you actually feel you put into like promoting and actually creating content to support it? And do you feel that like leveraging social media in the way that you do as a business owner has served to be a successful endeavor?
Social media has really helped me a lot. Like I do these videos all the time of me showing the new arrivals. Like I'll pick it up, show it, and I always get messages, people asking me if I could reserve it for them. So those have really helped. Um, I find I do put a lot of time into social media, and it's like having another job
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like I wear a lot of hats running the store on my own, definitely.
But is that do you feel that it's a necessary component of being a small business owner? Is that you have to be very kind of adaptable and you have to wear different hats and stuff like that? And are you attracted to that because you like that kind of lifestyle? Like I run my own business as well. And look, I've got a Trainman Report podcast. I like I like I like to dabble in lots of different things, right? Do you see yourself
Yeah.
when I talk that way? Yes.
Yes. I'm
Okay.
always trying new things with the
Right.
store, always exploring stuff.
Right.
Um, sometimes it gives me anxiety.
Right.
But for the most part, I love it, and I'd rather be doing this than just be doing the same thing every day. So
When you and I hate I apologize for prodding, but
no
when
worries.
you talk about anxieties of running a small business, I just want to have an honest conversation. So people in NDG are listening. What are the types of anxieties that you experience running a business?
Um, well, this time of year is, am I going to make the rent?
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and just
That's a common, believe it or not, it's a common anxiety. I have anxiety. Am
yeah,
I going to make payroll? Right? Like you
yeah,
have people working for you, and I need to have enough money to pay them. Right? So there's the anxiety about that. Right?
yeah,
And then you find that kills you is that it's sometimes it's not the big things that cause the anxiety. It's everything on the periphery that's eating away at you, like the unattended expenses. That's
yeah.
I find that a little stressful.
Yeah, and also just thinking of everything I need to do at
Mm.
once. Sometimes that kind of freezes me, and then I end up not doing anything, and that's not fun.
Or like you have
No, it
those
isn't.
things that are like you get like your checklist of wish list items and projects that you you need to do it, but you're stuck in the ruggamaroo of all the regular chores of your life, and that just takes up just enough time that you never seem to have that little extra hour to like you sit there and plan the next move or the next project, and then you get home and you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna do it today.
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
Here's another one. I like I run a small business as well, and what I found is that we're living in these inflationary times, and
Yes.
the problem I'm experiencing is I don't like raising prices, right? I don't
Me
like
neither.
that, but what I find is happening to me is that I'm my expenses are going up all around me, right? And
Yes.
then you're like, oh my God, you look at your balance sheet because we're I'm not I'm not making the type of money that I did before that I needed to pay my bills, right? And obviously, make a living, right? So I
Yeah.
can buy groceries, right? And pay my rent to my apartment, forget about my business or pay my mortgage or my home. And I find that I'm like, oh my God. I was like, has that something have you experienced that?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
And I find with used books, you can't really bring the price up too much because,
Right. Yeah. Cause
they,
you price out your market. Customers, it's too expensive. I'm not buying it anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
that's something that worries me too sometimes. Yeah.
Because you
but
see that
like
term.
Like
sorry,
the dollar
Vaughn.
store managed to make it go to $5 these days. Do you think if there was like you changed your minimum price point, it would overall be something people would adapt to, even if at first there would be an aversion to it?
Well, so like I brought up things a little bit, like the books that are usually $5, I've started pricing things $6, like stuff like that.
Well,
But
you have to do it. You have to
yeah,
pay. You
like
have to
I
pay your
have
rent.
to. I have no choice.
Yeah, you go out of business.
Man, I
Yeah.
mean, all of us can appreciate life is more expensive now. Like we all go to the grocery store and watch the prices go up, and everything is. And so like even travel costs, like if you have to go around the city, you know, it takes time to do things. It's just not simple. Plus all the peripheries, like every service you use went up like $2-3 a month this year, you know, like everything.
Yeah.
But how do you decide how much each book should sell for? Like, is there like a guide, or do you use like the number on the back, or?
So I check what the book sells for new, and I put it half of that price.
Oh, 50%. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's standard
But
practice.
unless like if the book's kind of damaged, then like I'll put it even lower though.
Do
Right.
you ever price a book based on, sometimes you get books that are hard to find, right? Yeah. Do you consider that in your pricing model?
Those I look up online and I see
Okay.
what they sell for, and I usually do it less than online. So yeah,
Right.
I price them pretty good.
That's kind of changed the whole like secondhand industry, secondhand market is, in the old days, right? How much was something worth used or like an antique item or whatever, right? People would just ballpark it. Oh, they would basically price it out what they thought they could get for it.
Yeah.
Now what I see happening a lot more is people go on eBay and they see what people are asking on it online. They use that as the measure. You're seeing that yourself from your business? Yeah.
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 Like, do people like pull out their phones in the middle of the bookstore to compare like the price against the internet?
Sometimes. Yeah, I've had a guy, I remember this a few years ago. Um there was like this rare hard copy. I think it was The Stand by Stephen King. And I don't remember exactly what we priced it at, but it was a little more pricey. And the guy left, and then he came back maybe 10 minutes later and he bought it without even saying anything about the price. And I really think he just left and he looked online at the prices and saw can't get it for any cheaper. Yeah.
It's always a pretty good deal. I better go back and get that. Not complaining
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's happened to me with vinyl.
Yeah.
I put up a vinyl, $40. You gotta be kidding me. And I'm like, I'm not buying that. $40. Leave the store. Check it. Oh my God. The cheapest online price is $100. I go back. I think I'm gonna buy it now. Sorry.
Yeah.
But back on like the challenges small businesses are experiencing all over. It's not unique to Sherbrooke. It's
Yeah.
it's it's the current economic environment we find ourselves in. Are you connected with the other local Sherbrooke businesses? Are you having conversations about this? Is this something that's on the radar?
Yes, definitely.
Please tell.
I've mostly been talking to Alex from Saving Grace Tattoos,
Right.
and we've been helping each other out. He has my bookmarks in his shop and some
Right.
stickers, and I have his stickers, and we just spread the word about each other's events.
Mhm.
So it's nice to have people to help us. So yeah, it's good.
And he sharing some of the challenges he's experiencing in his business that you relate to?
Yeah.
What's kind of the issues he's experiencing?
Well, I think the problem is with everything going up,
Right.
people are cutting out the more leisurely type of things. So
Right.
like that people are cutting out books, people are cutting out tattoos because
Right.
they have to be able to afford groceries and
Right.
rent. Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, Just for Laughs just got canceled. People be really cutting out entertainment as well in all
Yeah.
capacities. I don't know
Right.
if you knew about that, Alex, but in
Yeah,
case you
I
weren't
had
aware.
I've been following the news. Yeah, I saw that Just for Last is now filed for creditor protection. Are they filing for bankruptcy or just creditor protection at this point in time?
I think it's creditor protection as they look for new investors to keep the
Right.
company alive, but they laid off 75 people, and that's
That's it.
something that has been happening. I think it was like they say 70% of it. So I guess they also heard 75 people, so I just assume that those two numbers are both true. But that's another thing that's been happening a lot is a lot of layoffs across
Yeah, you commented
life.
on social media about that. I saw your post on that, Holden.
But it's not just
And
entertainment, right? It's just
right,
I follow other podcasts in business, and currently the way the stock market is shifting is what they're calling the year of efficiencies, where because of things like AI and automation across the board, you don't need 5 copywriters, you need 2. So it's
right.
not that the jobs are getting eliminated, it's just that the same person can do 3 times the amount of work now. And because of that, a lot of companies feel that a lot of positions are superfluous and are eliminating jobs. Plus, rents and mortgages are going up. Like I just heard on the radio today, we had the record number of people who didn't pay their mortgages this month. So it's like you're seeing that across the
And
board. There's a lot of
and taxes
signs.
were due. The city taxes were due this month as well. I just paid my city taxes.
I can
You
assure you, people are not Ubering like they were 3 or 4 months ago. A lot
Yeah,
less.
and you have city taxes to pay as well, don't you, Melanie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see a significant jump in your taxes over last year in terms of the amount that you had to pay?
Um, I I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
It's
Fair
like a
enough.
future problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's everything. It's yeah, rents. It's been a lot of stuff going
Yeah,
on.
so that to say, I think a lot of businesses are going to go through it in the next while, and a lot of the challenges you are facing are probably shared by most people. Is there a way to organize more merchants to kind of create a collective in the way, like let's say the way you guys are doing in exchange? Do you see something like a Sherbrooke Union, or even because I know there's apparently bookstores on Monkland as well? Like, what if all the bookstores in NDG created like a bookstore alliance to promote, all of your stuff collectively?
That would be really cool, and I'd be down for something like that for sure.
But there was also some talk not that long ago about there being kind of some like what do they call that? An economic development group for the street of Sherbrooke. Do you remember about that? Was that something on your radar screen there, Melanie? I know that there was a they call it a codec or CDEC or SODEC or something, Société de Développement Économique Commercial, and it didn't happen. The Sherbrooke commercial owners, like yourself, many of them complained that they already paid enough taxes and didn't want to get dinged again. And
Yeah.
I completely relate. But has there been any effort on the Sherbrooke level of the merchants organizing themselves to, perhaps do some activities to attract clients to the area?
There hasn't been any talk of it since that. No.
Because I know that what's her name, Michelle from Clinic, Bijou Clinic Bijou. Oh, please God, forgive me. She has a
Yeah.
jewelry store.
Yes,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, she's located right on the south side of Sherbrooke, not that far from the funeral parlor, and not far from Encore Records. I think she's right beside Encore Records, the old Empress Theater. And there's been some talk and revitalization of the Empress Theater. Hopefully that could, inject some new life into the street. Yeah, I'm just hope that comes sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I don't know, I feel like that's just gonna fall apart.
Yeah, we had, believe it or not, we had Sue Montgomery on the show, and she just felt like the city was is inertia was just wasn't nothing was going to happen, and now the city's struggling, right? Because the city's
Yeah.
struggling with increased costs and lower revenues, and they're gonna have a tough time finding the money for the Empress Theater. They were
Yeah.
spending when the city had lots of money, they weren't spending NDG, they were spending it somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
That seems to be our life story.
Yeah. Sherbrooke is so different now, I find too. It's so quiet.
Right.
Yeah.
It's become more quiet in your mind.
Yeah.
Uh, I always felt
Like, sorry,
that
but in what regard? Like, there's just less foot traffic, less festivals. Like, what do you
There's less business, which
okay,
makes less foot traffic.
that's not good.
like?
Yeah.
Less businesses are open, or
Yeah,
less
there's
people are
just
coming to do commerce.
both. There's really just not much going on. I feel like on my block, it's really just me and Honeys. Like
Right,
I can't think of anything else that's happening there.
right.
Yeah.
I
And
have
so,
seen. Sorry,
and
go
then
ahead,
there's a
Mahoney.
reduction in. So, like, there's a reduction in also city spending. Because over the pandemic, the city put a lot of money into, believe it or not, like festivals and things to bring foot traffic to NDG. So 2021, 2022, or whatever, they were flush. They were like, here's that COVID money, baby. And that dried the fuck up. And so all the not-for-profits and people who organize all those street festivals are no longer getting anywhere near the same level of funding they got comfortable with when, unfortunately, that makes it harder to operate.
Yeah.
So, like, at all levels, I guess it just seems like there's less happening. Can you guys throw events like that? Can you, like, as business owners, like, team up and do, like, an NDG Street Fest, or is, like, the city going to give you a hard time for that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, the
Mm.
the city is very they I guess that's a conversation another day. But what I was gonna say is that I'm sorry to hear that the traffic's down in Sherbrooke because I always saw Sherbrooke as the heart and soul of NDG. I really feel that
Yeah,
that's the street
definitely. Yeah.
that is the expression of what NDG is. I've seen what I do see, and God love them and it's fantastic and I love what's happening up there on Monkland. Monkland has seen a lot of economic activity there. And I remember back in the Applebaum days, Applebaum had made quite a few investments in Monkland to improve the business environment. And but I see Monkland servicing Hampstead. There's a lot of people from Hampstead that come to Monkland because Hampstead doesn't have any commercial. There's no commercial streets in Hampstead at all. It's all residential, and there's been some kind of pushback against that. That you saw that in the Copeman administration is that people in Monkland were complaining that Monkland was kind of being created for the people in Hampstead, not for the people in NDG, right? There was kind of that.
If what we're trying to say is stuff's bougie and expensive, then I agree.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, no, all love to Monkland though. Like, as much as I say that, it really is like got some stuff that is at a level that can compete with like Griffintown in terms of food quality and bougie experiences, and they really like put a lot of effort into making it a hip spot for millennials and Gen Z kids to want to pull up and get like photographic food.
But
And
saying that, Honey Martin's is hot. It's cooking these days, and it's changed. When I used to go there 5 years ago, it was an old man. Like a lot of older, the clientele was a lot older, and now it's much younger. There's what's that new restaurant run by those Europeans, the Belgium onto the
Also
new
do. Yeah.
onto the do. That's excellent, fantastic.
Yeah.
You have some good restaurants on Sherbrooke. There's actually another restaurant right beside Honey Martin. It's a Korean restaurant. Or what? Please help
Oh,
me, Mo.
Hwang Kam.
Yeah, and they do this
Yeah.
excellent seafood Korean pancake that I've never really had anywhere else in the city. I think there's a lot happening on Sherbrooke. We have the new Maison de Backgammon that opened. I just think
you know
that
what it is? There's not a lot of patios or like outside stuff happening on Sherbrooke. So there's a lot of nice places, but you're kind of inside at all of it. So there's not a lot of encouraging you to be out there. Like maybe Krusty's has like a little outside area, and a couple of them.
The Persian Cafe has a beautiful Karanji. Is that help?
Orange.
Terrible. Courage. They have an outdoor
Yeah.
But
patio.
like pretty much the
Uh,
whole Moncton, that whole block area is like encouraging you to sit down and hang
yeah,
out and
yeah,
chill.
Yeah. I
yeah,
find Sherbrooke a bit more spread out than Monkland these
yeah.
days.
It lacks intimacy because it's a bigger street and the buildings are farther apart, I guess, than it is on Monkland.
Yeah. Also, a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
these businesses we mentioned, they only open after I close shop. So
Right.
they're all closed during the day, like when
Right.
I'm open. Yeah.
But the city is.
Right.
I remember over the
You're saying it's like
pandemic.
the nightlife places are kind of doing okay, but the daytime places maybe are having a harder time with it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair statement because it is a different type. It's a completely different, like, you got the, regular hour businesses, then you have the restaurants, right?
Yeah.
Have you considered maybe staying open late to, well, I guess if you were going to Honey Barn and really bookstore, but you said that could work for you if it goes to Riverside, eh?
Yeah.
Have you considered
No, but
like,
that's a good question. Is there like
Yeah.
if that's what the market is dictating, is there like an opportunity to shift hours to cater to like an evening crowd?
I might try out something like that in the summer. Right now I'm usually open pretty late on Thursdays because
Right.
that's usually when I have events.
Right.
Right.
And I find Thursday night great for events. Nobody comes during the day, but they're all ready to go out at night.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Thursdays are great because it doesn't interfere with weekend plans, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty
Yeah.
popular go out night still. Like, cause like people tend to like write Fridays off, right? Like, and so like you can go in a little tired on Friday or have a little less energy, and it's okay. So like people do treat it well, but so basically like I think like it would be interesting to see a collaborative effort of like businesses like a Honey Martin's teaming up with y'all to like create like a beer and book experience, or like is that kind of
That's right.
Cool.
I'm just trying to like think about like,
Yeah.
because if the challenge is like ultimately there is less foot traffic and things are maybe not in the optimistic trend like that, do you think that like the collaborative effort approach between businesses would infuse something back into the Sherbrooke Street?
I think it could. Yeah.
It's
I think
just,
it'd be a nice way to bring businesses together, make it a little more intimate.
yeah.
Excellent. So, I apologize. So I want to really thank you very much for joining us and telling us about Phoenix Bookstore. Is there anything in particular, like we have to bring this show to a conclusion, unfortunately. Is there anything in particular that you would like to like share with the audience of upcoming events or new titles or that you would like? Because we're here to promote you, right? This is
Yeah.
what the podcast is all about. So shoot, go for it.
Cool. So the next event is on Thursday, March 7th.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be doing a free movie screening of Godzilla.
Oh,
Oh,
awesome.
that's
So
cool.
that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And
Anything else?
how can people follow your newsletter and stay in touch? Because
Right.
ultimately, we want to make sure that they follow you and stay up to date with everything happening. They can see all your Book Face Fridays, which, if you want to know
Yeah.
what that means, you should follow it. Because I got to give props as far as like following business accounts goes. Melanie's been really creative with it, and will give you reasons to come back and see what she does next. So, yeah, what are your social media handles, and how can they sign up to your newsletter that you also put out, keeping people informed of things?
So you can follow me on social media with Phoenix Books NDG.
Right.
So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And my newsletter is currently being revamped. I haven't worked on it yet, but yeah, MailChimp wanted to charge me, so I'm with Substack now. So if you could sign up substack.com/PhoenixBooksNDG.
Awesome. Well, thank you
That's
so
cool.
much. And
Yeah.
wish you
Thank
all best of
you.
luck. And we do plugs for local businesses, so we'll do the same for you.
Yeah,
I
if
think
you-
that's yeah.
If you want to come on the show and talk about your business, that would be really cool. Also, if you want to advertise on our show, we're starting that now. so you can hit us up and we
supposedly.
can plug your stuff. No, we're trying to grow. We're trying to create an NDG centric thing and play our part.
That's right.
However, nothing in life is free, including running a podcast. So we just throwing it into the universe. If you're a business and you have an extra little bit of cash, we have very affordable ad rates for our very tiny NDG focused audience. But over time, as we grow, you would be investing in a platform that should, in theory, help you convert clients in the future. That being said, it's really great to have you, Melanie, and to get your story. And we really do want to get all kinds of people on the show, from entrepreneurs to artists to regular parents. Would be cool. It'd be interesting to just have a parent come on here and be like, I'm a parent. Let me tell you about all my parent concerns. But it's really about creating a hub for the city or our community. And also just thanks to everyone watching, because without you guys watching the show, there's people on different platforms checking in, whether you're on Facebook, and Dave Dialect just said he's following the IG now. He's going to have to come visit the store too. And shout out Dave Dialect. That dude's really about the community. I fucks with him heavy. But so shout out to everyone watching, because without you, there is no show and there is no community. So you can follow us on YouTube. We're on Twitch. We're on Facebook. We'll soon have an Instagram for the Trainman Report you can follow, but you can, and we'll have a Patreon up soon, so you can support like that as well. But we're also on all the podcast networks, so if you are able to follow on Spotify and give us rates and do all that good stuff, leave comments on YouTube, share it with your friends, tell people we exist. Typically, we're every Tuesday at 6 p.m., but Alex went to Mexico and ruined everything for 2 weeks.
I ruined everything, and my wife's yelling at me right now. I gotta go.
Once Alex
I love
is
you
back
all.
in the city,
I have to go.
So I appreciate y'all.
Thank you for
Live long
having
and
me.
prosper.
Oh,
See
Melanie,
y'all next Tuesday.
thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. You're so kind. You're such a nice person. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.